And for those of you who might be studying at the moment at university, sometimes we think about customer service, and sometimes we think about customer experience. And if you're working in tourism or hospitality, then you are frequently involved with customer service. And if you're working in the events industry, the MICE industry, we're working with customer experience. So what's the difference between the two? Well, with customer service, we don't have much customer participation. When I go to check in at the hotel reception, I hand over my passport. I might answer one or two questions, but I am not expecting to be actively engaged in the process of checking in, apart from giving my passport and signing the registration form. The reception process is standardized, and it fulfills my needs to get into my hotel bedroom as quickly and efficiently as possible. So in tourism and hospitality, we have a lot of customer service, but in the MICE and events industry, we have a lot of customer experience. And customer experience means we've got to involve our guests in the event that we are organizing. We have to have participation. That's what can add to the success of an event. And when we think about the involvement of our guests, we can think again about something which is known as absorption. And absorption is like sitting at home, watching television, and watching a concert on television. And we might see something like this, a spectacular light show, a spectacular sound show, but all that we are doing if we are sitting at home is watching. We can hear the sound, we can think about the excitement, but we are not actively involved. We are absorbing that experience. But when we are organizing the event itself, we want our guests to be immersed in the experience. We want to involve them in the experience. We want them to use their senses. We can use now sight, sound, smell, and taste. We can use our senses. We are also in a room with different people, and we can have a shared sensory experience amongst ourselves. We can share the excitement. And we can also, when we are there experiencing the event, we can also get our imagination working as well. Through the light show, through the technology, it can get our imagination working as well. So when we are at an event, when we are organizing an event, we must think about how we are going to provide an experience for our guests that involves them in the event that is taking place. We want to immerse them into the event itself for participation and enjoyment. So here we are again, back at Miss Universe, and when all of the contestants come on stage, there's cheering, there's clapping, there's music, there's fireworks, and we are absorbing that experience. We are immersed in it, and we get excited, and we really enjoy being part of the show. So our event should create extraordinary experiences, get our guests' sensations going, think about absorption and immersion, think about the creative flows for the whole event, and technology these days is so very important in adding that extra dimension. And also think about, can we have a peak experience? Can we have a climax to the show? And if we go back to 2 years ago, the crowning glory of Miss Universe, 2 years ago, in 2015. Here we are at the final stage, the handover of the crown from the previous Miss Universe to the new one. And this is Miss Colombia, this is Miss Philippines, and Steve Harvey is making the announcement on stage. The 2015 winner of Miss Universe is Miss Colombia. But then all of a sudden, they realize a mistake has been made, and poor Miss Colombia looks very disappointed because they've realized a mistake has been made, and Steve Harvey has to apologize and says, I'm sorry about that, but the new Miss World, Miss Universe in 2015 is actually Miss Philippines. So a great shift of the crown from Miss Colombia to Miss Philippines. And, oh, where do we go? Yep, and there she is. Happy after all, after being a little bit disappointed at being named runner-up. But every event that we organize should have some experience, and if we can have a crowning glory to that experience, that makes it very, very good. So creativity, storytelling, experience. So the last building block for creative event design is design itself. And once again, we can reflect upon the event that we are enjoying today and yesterday in wonderful Taipei. And we can think about some design principles that can apply to exhibition booths as well as to general events that are being organized. And a very important point, and something that we as judges try to ask at the exhibition booths and also at the marketing presentations yesterday afternoon, was, who is your audience? So who are you aiming at in the design of your marketing strategy? Who are you aiming at in the design of your exhibition booth? So understand your audience and then use images and designs that your audience will be attracted to. So this is quite a complex part of event MICE design. Thinking about your target audience and then translating your understanding of that target audience into the design of your event. Quite a challenging thing to do for anybody. Even experienced event organizers will find this a challenging part of designing an event. And then visual communication, very, very powerful to setting the expectation and mood. And we've had some wonderful, truly wonderful exhibition booths to look at here this week. And the visual communications through those booths have been very different. Some have been relatively straightforward. Others have used other types of technology, the colors. Visual communication, very important. And we can also think about the psychology of design as well. So I'm just going to do a bit of examples with you. So this is quite simple, and we're going to have audience participation. And we're going to do it collectively, so we're doing okay for time, nearly 2 o'clock, so a bit of time for joint audience participation. So get your vocal cords ready, because we're going to do some chanting. We're going to do some joint chanting together. So what Daniel Kahneman says, and this is very, very straightforward, he says that we as human beings, we can either think fast or we can think slowly. We can think fast or we can think slowly. And this is part of the design of an event. And we think in those two different ways, but usually at the same time. We think fast and we think slow at the same time. And when we think fast, it's really subconscious thinking. We don't have to think a great deal about what we are seeing or what the situation is that we are involved with. So type 1 thinking is fast thinking. So I just want you to practice saying that. So say after me. Everybody say after me. Bit of an English exercise as well. Type 1 thinking is fast thinking. Okay, that was quite a good start, but wasn't quite loud enough. So we've got to say it louder now. Type 1 thinking is fast thinking. What is fast thinking? Type 1, yeah. Okay, do it again. So type 1 thinking is fast thinking. What is fast thinking? Very good. And commit that to your memory. And if you, well, I'd like you to remember 2 things, well, 3 things from the workshop this afternoon. Don't forget the 4 blocks of creative event design. And don't forget that is fast thinking. Okay, very good. And then type 2 thinking is slow thinking. And when we think slowly, we might see something and we have to interpret what we see. We have to think about it. So type 2 thinking is slow thinking. So repeat after me again. Type 2 thinking is slow thinking. Very good. So you've got the idea. So don't forget, type 1 thinking is fast thinking. Type 2 thinking is slow thinking. Don't forget that. So type 1 thinking, when we are engaged in a situation where we are thinking fast, we normally do something as a result of that type of thinking. So type 1 thinking, we do things. When we are thinking slowly, we remember. So when you are designing an event, you can also build in psychology of design into the event as well. And designers need to understand what they want people to do from the event that they attend. So if you want people to do something when they attend your event, if you want them to do something after they leave your event, then you will design it for the type 1 thinker. But if you want people to remember your event or your company, you will design it for the type 2 thinkers. So bit of psychology, but some people do use this in designing an event. And type 1 people respond to designs that are easy to understand. There's nothing complex about the design of the visuals or the event itself. Type 2 thinkers respond to designs that you have to question, or they don't immediately look what you are expecting to see. So type 1 thinkers think fast, type 2 thinkers think slow. And then we're coming towards the end of the workshop now. And when thinking about design, we must also think about the stages that we use, the space that we use. And a stage is just a stage until we put something on it. So again, when we have an exhibition, when we have a conference, we must think about the practical space that we have available to us. And this is the Mall of Asia in Manila, in the Philippines, when it's empty. And it would just look like a very sort of basic arena with nothing special about it. But then when it's ready for the show, there's been design, there's been the technology, the lighting, the carpets, and the stage itself. So we must also think about what our stage looks like when we are designing an event. So we can think about ourselves as characters, we can think about the colors that we use, but also the space. And when thinking about colors, we would always think about using colors conservatively, have warmer colors at the front. So warmer colors are yellows and oranges and light reds. Have cooler colors at the background, so those are the blues and the purples. And there may be one color that runs throughout the whole design of the space that we are using. And we can use the color wheel to help decide which colors to choose. And the color wheel is this, and I'm sure most people may be familiar with it, but these are the warm colors. So have the warm colors at the front of any space that you're using, and have the cooler colors at the back of the space that you are using. And there might be one color band that you use throughout your exhibition space or the event that you are organizing. So again, just a visual example. This is an awards ceremony, and there's one color which runs throughout, the purple color, and then the warmer colors, the yellows, close to the entrance when people come in. And again, we can align it with the color wheel. And some people would say this is quite a good, effective use of color. Inside a restaurant for a special occasion, there's been thought given to the colors for the tablecloths, for the place settings, for the flowers. And again, we could harmonize it with the color wheel. So when thinking about the colors to choose for your design, do think about coordinating with the color wheel. And for the layout, everything should work together. We should have harmony in choosing the elements that go onto our exhibition booth or onto our stage. Don't just put something there for the sake of filling up space. So everything that you have should have a reason for being there. There should be a purpose for including it. There should be consistency. A theme should run through. And think about the entire space that's available to you. So think about coordinating the whole space. Okay, so we are coming towards the end of my presentation this afternoon. So just a few concluding points, hopefully, that you can take away. Don't forget the story. Every event should tell a story. And having that story running through your event is very important to give the people who come a message that you want them to take away. So when you've been designing the destination marketing exhibition booths, reflect upon the story that your booth was telling. So every event should tell a story. Think about the space you've got and how that creates the experience. What do you want the participants to do? So when we organize an event, we want to immerse our guests in the event. So what do we want them to do? Do we just want them to stand and look? Or do we want them to do something? And some of the exhibition booths that we've seen yesterday and today, there was things for us as visitors to do, which is all a part of the design process. And bringing everything together, it is difficult. It's very difficult to design a very effective event, a very effective exhibition booth. And sometimes we say, don't overcomplicate something that could be quite straightforward. But do bear in mind good design principles. So don't make something complicated that could be fairly straightforward in design. And the very good thing about events is that we can attend many events ourselves. And every event that we organize is a good learning opportunity for us, because we can say, what did we love about the event that we've attended? What was really special that we loved about the event? With all events that we go to, we can keep our eyes open. We can observe, and we can think about what was good about that event or that exhibition or that conference. And then we can put what we loved with what we've seen together, and we can build a new event in the future that's based upon our observations of what we've seen already. So the events industry is so good for us to learn about what works in practice when other people have tried them out. So the conclusion to my workshop this afternoon is be creative. Every event needs to have an element of creativity in it. We can be creative with technology. I haven't talked about technology today, but technology is an important part of creativity. The virtual reality, the lighting, the music, the sound, all of those elements can add creativity to an event. I've maybe emphasized this too much, but think of the story to tell. When you start to design an event, start off by thinking about what is the story you want to tell. And an event can have more than one story. But think of the story you want to tell. Think about that really wow experience. What is it that's going to lift your event above other ones that have been organized before? What will be the wow experience when people come to your exhibition booth? What is there really that puts you apart from other people at that exhibition? And think about something spectacular. It doesn't have to be complicated, but what might be spectacular about your event? And for those of us who work in the events industry, and for those of you who are studying on a MICE or events program at the moment, really do enjoy it. Events management, MICE management, is very different to working in another service industry. Very different to tourism, very different to hospitality. It's different because we have to think differently. We have to solve problems. We have to be good planners. We have to think quickly when something doesn't quite work right. So it is a different industry, different type of experience, but really do enjoy it, because when you've organized an event and it goes really well, you get a great buzz, a great deal of satisfaction. And for those of you who are students, don't forget to send in your Facebook friend request to APM student member, and I look forward to welcoming you to our Facebook group. And for those of you who are professionals as lecturers or as practicing events organizers, please send in your Facebook friend request to APM professional member. And don't forget the 4 building blocks. Take those away with you today: creativity, storytelling, experience, design.